culture, gender, sexuality, tradition, business, and so much more. Hi, I'm Regina Gershman.
And I'm Dr. Sam Dube. Together, we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey with engaging people from around the world, starting from right here in Ottawa, the capital of Canada.
On this episode of The Etiquette Show, the founder of the Institute of Optimum Nutrition, Patrick Holford, talks with Dr. Dube about the incredible importance of vitamin C in the fight against the common cold and even COVID-19. A big believer in pet reincarnation, Suzann Capra joins us to discuss her new book, Secret Letters from Spice, New York City Dog. And Acaedia jumps into Times Square to chat with a fellow New Yorker about love, relationships, and coronavirus. All that coming up on The Etiquette Show. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to The Etiquette Show. I'm Conchetta Rose. Suzann Capra has been a pupper parent to many beloved dogs who keep returning to her life. She has also been owned by many cats who also seem to find their way again into her life. She works as a playwright, actor, and speech pathologist. Here to discuss her book, Secret Letters from Spice, New York City Dog, Suzann Capra. Suzann, thank you so much for being here on The Etiquette Show today.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk.
Here.
What? I'm sorry?
Special sweetie that you have here.
Okay, this is Amber. She's in the book. Oh. She's one of the apartment mates of Spice. Okay. And Spice doesn't really like her or the other one, but I call her Amber Fartface. She has the ability to always fart. But anyway, and Bubble is the blimp, but she's hiding under the bed. Okay. So it's impossible to get her, and Amber doesn't like to be here either.
Look at the little tongue hanging out.
Well, the tongue, that's been a new thing. I don't know what's going on with her.
Looks so you're saying she's like doesn't like things, but she looks so content in your arms.
Yeah, that's where she loves to be. Yeah. All the time. I don't get a break. Even if I'm trying to drink tea, she has to be right there. You know, I have to pick her up. Okay, let's do it. So you don't keep on clawing me. And
she loves it. Okay, let's get right into it.
Okay, I'll put her on the floor here. Yes.
So who is Spice?
Okay, well, Spice is the dog that I write about. And she's a very feisty dog who loves the city and only wants to be in the city. She likes the smell of the garbage. She likes the dog park. She likes to be the superior dog and say hello to all the other dogs. And she is owned by who she calls the lady. And there's a lot of conflict between Spice and the lady. Spice has the attitude that she is in control of everything. Everything revolves around her, and she makes all the decisions in her life. Anyway, so basically they have to go to the country, all the dogs, because that's where the lady is going. And Spice feels, well, the dog needs her support. I mean, the woman needs her support. So she'll go along with this. And when she gets there, she's horrified. She hates the country. She only wants to be back in the city. So she decides to write letters to her friend in the city called Auntie Evie, who is always on her side and agrees with her that she is the perfect dog, the best dog, the sweetest dog. And she's madly in love with her. I see the other one here. Anyway, so what this is it tells the story through letters, about 20 letters, of Spice's experiences in the country. And finally, how she gets back to the city. It talks about the fact that she hates the quiet. There's nothing good to smell there. So the quiet is killing her. She hates it. But she does discover another dog across the street at last, who she thinks she's in love with. Oh. She thinks this dog is her soulmate. But she thinks the dog's a little too conceited. But the dog has a very, very long, very incredible lineage. So she says, oh, this dog thinks she's so special. Well, we'll see about that because I'm the special one. So finally the dog comes over to visit and they do everything together. They do back kicks together. They drink water together. They run together. They say, of course, she doesn't give the other dog any of her biscuits. She can't share biscuits. But and anyway, she has to guard her biscuits because the other two dogs are always going after biscuits. So it tells all the little antics that happen in the country. But then when she finally meets this dog, she falls in love and doesn't want to go back to the city. Oh, but then she says no, but she's got to because she's there to protect and help the lady. The lady needs her so much that there's no way that she could feel feeling comfortable about life, not getting depressed. So she does. And then she starts writing letters to the dog in the country. But all the while, she's having so much city and being in control of everything. And she has a wonderful dog walker now who the lady found, very handsome guy who she really likes. But she said, I'm not going to make a big fuss over him because I think the lady needs a boyfriend. So let her have him. But it seems that the guy is more attracted to Spice. Everybody's attracted. And is not here. Spice has already gone to the planet. So she talks at the end of the book about reincarnation and how we always find those we love. We come back in each life. And we're different. We have different bodies, though. We might not have the same body, but we always find the people that we want to be with, that we love. And there's a whole discussion about that. And she more or less is telling the dog in the country all about this, and that she knew that dog on the other side. Yeah. And that she decided that she'd come back to help this lady and also to see this dog. But she says next time when she comes back as a dog, she wants to be a big dog so she can eat more.
Me too. Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah. It's lots of fun, and it can bring anyone out of any kind of sadness because it's so much fun to be in the mind of a dog and her thoughts and her feelings. And how we never really see them as they really are unless we get into that inner depth of who they express themselves to be, who they really are.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about your inspiration for this book.
My inspiration, it was the dog, Spice.
Yeah.
His real name actually was Isis, the goddess.
Oh.
But I couldn't use Isis.
For lots of reasons.
Yeah, for lots of reasons. So I changed it to Spice.
Oh,
but she was my inspiration because she really controlled me.
Yeah.
And I had to do everything she wanted. Otherwise, it wasn't going to happen. You know, she wanted me to cook for her. She wanted me to take her for walks all the time. Had to go sniff the garbage. Anything that she wanted, we did. And I realized that she was controlling me. And that was my inspiration. I thought, isn't that interesting? And she didn't like the country when I took her there. She didn't like it at all. She was a real New York City dog.
That's so interesting. Why do you think that is? Why do you think she preferred city life to country life?
I think maybe because she had more socialization in the city. Oh. There were more dogs for her. She had better odors. She loved the sounds of the sirens and loved to bark, and everything that the city had, she loved.
Yeah, that's amazing. You would think that stuff would be jarring for her, not understanding what a siren is, or too many smells or something to that effect. But it's just the opposite. No,
she was more or less like, I'm going to get this one. I'm going to get that one. You just watch. Here I am. And she'd walk in the street thinking she was tops.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's fabulous. So let's talk a little bit about animal reincarnation. You mention it quite a bit in the book. You mention it as an individual as well. And now you have said that animals keep their spirits or their souls or their beings keep finding their way back to you. So what do you mean by that?
Okay, well, I've had a lot of examples of that, but the one that I had with ISIS was I was heading over to the Center for Animal Control, and from where I live, I took the 3rd Avenue bus uptown, but I really should have taken the 1st Avenue. But as it turned out, the timing was so perfect because I met a lady in the street. I was practicing my Spanish, you know. She said, "Oh, I speak English." Okay, fine. So I said, well, so she said, "I'll take you there." I said, "Oh, okay." She was bringing over a cat that had been found. And I said, "Well, I'm looking for a dog." She said, "Oh, I have a dog." I said, "Oh, well, I only want a Chihuahua because that's what my mother wanted." So I thought I'll get my mother a Chihuahua. So she said, "I have a Chihuahua." I said, "What?" I said, "Well, I only want a small one." "Oh, she's small." I said, "Oh." So the next day she comes over with Isis, Spice, and that was it. Isis took one look at me, and it was love at first sight. Oh. She wanted nothing to do with the other lady, Brenda. She just wanted to be with me. I said, "My God, I must know this dog, or she knows me." So she stayed with me. And so that's one example. Another one was I was doing volunteer work at the Bidewee. And this was before I got Spice. This was another dog, and named Trixie. It was her name actually was not Trixie, Frisky. I said, "Oh God, no, not Frisky. Let's change it to Trixie." So when this dog was in the cage, every time I'd walk by, she'd bark at me, she'd look at me, she'd jump around, and this went on for 2 weeks, 2 weekends. I said, "Oh my goodness." So people were saying, "That dog knows you. That dog knows you." I said, "Oh, well, maybe I should adopt her." And so sure enough, that was another example that I had. And so I always think that, and I see that the dogs do find us. And I believe in reincarnation. I believe we've been many people, we've had many lives, we've been many religions, races, colors, everything. And so, and it's the same for dogs because energy never dies. You know, it comes back. And I always find that they come back to the ones they really love. And this is what I heard, which is very interesting. When the dog or the cat is passing, if you look in their eyes and you are the last thing they see, that's what they'll come back to.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I heard from a guru.
Oh, wow.
Because I practice meditation.
Yeah.
And the same guru said they can come back within 7 years. You know, they don't need that much time on other planes or if you want to call them planets.
Right.
But also people have dreams about their pets after they passed on, and they're actually going there to visit them.
Right.
It's my interpretation. So I can be nutty. I don't care. This makes me happy. This is how I think.
Yeah, no.
Rather than to think, they're gone forever. Please, there's no forever.
Right.
No gone forever.
Right.
Energy has to return.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
You on that, and I'm a huge animal lover. I've always grown up with dogs and cats and had birds and just always the animals around, and there is something there that what you're mentioning. There's something particular, like I've met people with their pets and stuff like that, and I say, I love this dog, I love this cat, but they're not my dog, they're not my cat. They belong to you, or you belong to them. Belong together somehow. And I have a little dog with my partner, and he loves us both equally. I do feel that, but there's something about my partner that he is just, he has to be like what you said about Bubble, like on top of him, next to him, and everything that he's doing. And for me, he gives me a little space, but when my partner's not around, then we're best friends,
Yes.
There's a soul connection. I remember I adopted him, and when I saw his eyes on the screen, it was a computer picture. And when I saw his eyes, I said, that's my dog. I got full body chills, and I was like, that's the one. So there is something to, and I love what you say about energy never dying, never disappearing. It exists always. So it does just go from one form to another. And I love that concept. And if that's what reincarnation is, then I love reincarnation. I believe back like that. And I'm with you. I believe that dreams are visitations. They're not just imaginations of our, subconscious minds,
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so much we really don't know that we're discovering all the time. About 3 or 4 years ago, I kept having a dream about a cat on a road. I said, I've had a lot of cats too.
Right.
Next thing I know, I see at the Center for Animal Control this beautiful Persian cat who was 12 years old. They only charged me $25.
Oh, wow.
He was so old, but he was wild and naughty and crazy. I said, I got to take him. Got to get this cat. Because that was the one that I know I saw on the road waiting for me.
Yeah.
And but again, the timing has to be perfect. The timing was perfect. And so of course I got him groomed and he was still a mess and his teeth done. Finally, after 3.5 years, he loves me, which is amazing. And he purrs and he doesn't mind if I clip his hair, which is so much fun. So, the animals really, we need them, but they know that they really know that we need them. It's like a whole different perspective. They're here to help us.
I agree.
To teach us different lessons. And, the whole thing is just amazing. Even when I got Amber, who I just showed you, after this dog Nina passed away, who actually was my aunt's dog, and I took over when she had to go to a nursing home. So after Nina died that evening, I saw an ad for this dog that needed a home desperately. I said, I know that this dog is being sent to me. So I went out and got her, and that's how I got Amber. But in the book, Spice doesn't like the other 2 dogs at all. If she's in competition, she doesn't want to wear the same coats they wear. They're not up to her mental, intellectual ability.
Join me up here, everyone.
Yes. And they're always stealing biscuits. So she has to find different ways to hide biscuits. And she's very glad when they get reprimanded about anything. So it's a lot of fun stuff. And everybody will be able to read their dog into the book. They'll see, this happens, all of that.
Even before, when you were describing Spice and her personality and how she thinks she's in charge, but really she's not, I was relating as a human to that concept. I said, I think I'm the boss of everything, but really not at all.
That's true. Yeah. And they're here to help us in our lives. Of course, we have to in turn feed them and take care of them, but they know.
For sure. And being open to that, as you are, being a channel, so to speak, to allow them to come in and allow them to take care of us as we take care of them. I think that's just a totally beautiful concept. So tell our friends, where can they get your book?
Well, it's being sold at Barnes & Noble and on Amazon under Secret Letters. I call it Secret Letters.
Right.
Sounds more mysterious, more Agatha Christie. From Spice, the city dog. It's the city dog. Forget the country. Under my name. Suzann Capra. So here it might say Rabina. But that's speech pathology. Then I'm Rabina. Helping all the little kids.
Right. So you're working with children, you're writing books, you're taking care of animals. You're very much a giver, aren't you?
I am. You're right. It's very hard to accept, but it's much nicer to give.
Yeah.
It really is. It makes me feel good.
Yeah. It's rewarding in its own.
Although I wouldn't mind someone paying my rent.
Right. So if anybody's out there looking to pay rent for an individual, please choose Suzann Capra.
Yes. And by the way, this book would make a really great animated movie. It's very active. There's a lot of conflict. And the other thing I want to say is I wrote a course called the Speech Pronunciation Course, where you can learn how to pronounce every word in the English language.
Wow.
Yeah, please. I had a breakdown over that. And all 39 speech sounds, or 39, because there are 15 vowels. Wow. So if anybody's interested in being the producer of it, I'm looking for somebody, to get it probably, we'll get it on the computer so everybody can get it. It's going to be inexpensive, like maybe $15. And then you hear every sound that we pronounce. And you can learn how to clear up your pronunciation. So you can sound like the newscasters with their beautiful voices, because actually speech is to get the message across, not to have interference.
Yeah.
So that you're totally understood.
Yeah. To be understood for sure. I love that phrasing too, to get the message across.
Right. Yeah. It's called Speak with Ease.
Fabulous.
And once you learn, I tested it on all my students because I used to teach at a college, and boy, they would learn a sound within just a few weeks instead of months of struggling with a speech sound. So, that was a tough one.
That's amazing. Well, Suzann, thank you so much for being here with us on the Etiquette Show today. Pick up Suzann's book, Secret Letters from Spice, the New York City Dog. Please, it's fabulous. It's hilarious. It's dramatic. It's about, it's awesome. Thank you so much, Suzann. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful meeting you. Nice to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you.
Okay. God bless.
Hello, Dr. Sam Dube here once again for the Etiquette Show, and I'm joined today by Patrick Holford. Patrick, thank you so much for coming out today.
My pleasure.
So Patrick is the founder of the Institute of Optimum Nutrition, as well as the Food for the Brain Foundation. This is all based in the United Kingdom. He is the author of 45 books in 30 languages, including his latest, Flu Fighters. So we are here today to talk to Patrick, who is a nutritionist and formerly a psychologist. We're here to talk to him today about immune support and general health and well-being using vitamin C. So, Patrick, I leave the floor to you.
Okay. Well, I'm very lucky because many years ago I bumped into a man called Dr. Linus Pauling, and many people are not aware of this man, but we should be, because when Einstein was asked, "Are you a genius?" he said, "If you want a real genius, it's Dr. Linus Pauling." He, by the time I met him, he had 2 unshared Nobel Prizes, he had 48 PhDs, and he had bumped into he was the best chemist. I mean, just a genius chemist. That was his specialty in biochemistry. He identified how genes cause disease. He was right in there, but he was just a chemical genius. And he bumped into vitamin C, which is this extraordinary, terribly simple molecule that's actually made from sugar. So all animals, with the exception of very few, including primates, that is us, all animals make vitamin C from glucose. All plants make it from fructose. And effectively, ever since oxygen-based life forms, so we make energy by combining glucose with oxygen, or burning glucose with oxygen, you make oxidants, which are like exhaust fumes, and they kill you. That's why we age, ultimately, oxidation. So we have to have an antioxidant. We have to have, something to deal with exhaust fumes, which is vitamin C. So it's very old. It's very out there. All animals make it. And Linus Pauling noticed some very interesting things. He noticed, number one, that only the animals that don't make vitamin C are particularly susceptible to viruses and cancer. So, we get flu, but dogs and cats and rats and mice and goats and sheep, right now in this pandemic, we don't mind about our pets. I think there have been 2 cases now of cats getting infected, but basically, animals that make vitamin C just make more. And to put this into context, the RDA, the amount on the cornflakes packet, which stands for the ridiculous dietary arbitrary, is somewhere between 40 and 80 milligrams, which is something, like an orange, and 1,000 milligrams, which is a gram, which is 20 oranges. Is a goat will be making, 5 to 10 grams every single day. And if you expose the goat to a virus, it may produce as much as 50 grams, and 10 grams is 200 oranges. So animals, just make more vitamin C when they are exposed to an infection, a viral infection. And what's fascinating, if you think about the logic of this, by the way, the only animals that don't, make vitamin C are all primates. Right. Gorillas, by the way, will eat 4.5 grams. So we're talking like 80 supermarket oranges worth a day, equivalent. Guinea pigs don't make vitamin C, jungle-dwelling rodent, and that is why they're the experimental animal of choice, the guinea pig, right?
Right.
And then bats, almost all bats don't make vitamin C. And if one thought about the logic of this, you'd think, well, why aren't bats, getting infected with the virus, which they do, and falling out the sky?
Right.
As a athlete, you'll be interested to know the answer, and it's actually interval training. A bat is a flying mammal, and when it flies, its heart rate goes up to 1,000 beats a minute. Its temperature soars by a couple of degrees, and it's so adapted to respiratory, it's got such a strong cardiovascular and respiratory system that a virus which could kill us, has no effect. But what's fascinating is every other animal that makes vitamin C will keep its blood level always at the same level. It's about between 60 and 80 units or micromoles per liter, always. And if it gets sick, what happens, and this is terribly important, is when you're exposed to any virus, it doesn't matter if we're talking measles, polio, flu, whatever. What happens is vitamin C is so exquisitely important for the immune system. I mean, we've heard about white blood cells, T cells, et cetera, et cetera. Vitamin C actually is required for those immune cells to work. We've heard about interferon. It's used as a drug. And what happens is when a cell gets infected by a virus, it produces interferon to interfere with the virus. Vitamin C promotes interferon. Some of you might have heard of the drug Tamiflu. Tamiflu was an antiviral drug, and now everyone's scrambling to make an antiviral drug for third wave, which blocks one of the spike proteins called neuraminidase. And it's a neuraminidase inhibitor. Vitamin C, neuraminidase inhibitor. So what we know is that if you measure the normal level of vitamin C in white cells, T cells, etc., under viral attack, you need about 4 grams at least input just to get to normality. So in other words, if you're fighting any cold or flu, you are consuming vitamin C at an enormous rate. And even just to say, what do I need to maintain my normal immune strength? We are talking several grams. What Linus Pauling did was he asked, am I more like a rat, which makes 3 grams a day, or a goat that makes 10 grams a day? And he soon worked out that if you take a gram an hour upon infection, I'm now 63. I've been doing this since my early 20s. I have never taken a day off work. Yes, I've got flu, serious flu. I had, the current one in June. It took me 18 hours. So it's not that you won't suffer, you will suffer. But the issue is if we did what animals do to make vitamin C upon infection and take very high dose, and the only side effect of which could be, but it rarely is, loose bowels. Right. Because when you have more than you need, you get loose bowels. Yes. So that was the other thing that blew the mind of Linus Pauling, which is I'm talking, RDA 80 milligrams. If you take 100,000 milligrams, you won't die. You'll get loose bowels, but you won't die. If I drink 10 liters of water, right now in the next 15 minutes, I can die. So vitamin C is actually as safer than water and essential. And it's so much part of our natural. So the people who say you can get all the vitamins you need from a well-balanced diet don't realize that certain jungle-dwelling creatures, including our primate ancestors, actually, it appears, lost the ability to make vitamin C, which wasn't a disadvantage because they could eat a lot in the jungle environment, like the gorilla who eats 4,500 milligrams. We struggle to get 100 milligrams. So if you think about the logic of it, if, a particular primate in our distant past lost the ability to make vitamin C, which is made from sugar, suddenly they got all this extra glucose, all this extra energy. They become like top shagging monkey, and soon it's their bloodline that takes over. And here we are left with this disadvantage, especially if you live, in North America. Yes. The further you are, from the equator, the less, natural fruits and things you get.
This is funny. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's it. It's just the basic. And actually, before Linus Pauling died in his 90s, I was filming him, made the last film on this incredible man. his parting words were follow the logic.
Yes.
And the logic of vitamin C is just absolutely impeccable. And the only reason right now, I mean, I work with many intensive care units who are using vitamin C, saving lives. And I'll tell you something that is completely shocking, but it's so true. I've been working with one of the top professors in China, the top immunology emergency medicine professors, a lovely man called Ziong Peng at the University of Zhongnan. Their Zhongnan hospital is like the best hospital. And they already knew from SARS that vitamin C was very effective and started using it straight away, started the first randomized placebo-controlled trial on ventilated patients, either giving sterile water or given vitamin C. Mm. And when he published the results a few months ago, they had 80% less mortality. Now, here's a mind blower. On the 2nd of February last year, not this year, last year, the Chinese government shipped 50 tons, that's 50 million grams of vitamin C into Wuhan, gave it to every single infected person. They have very good lockdown, very good track and trace. They gave it to every health worker. Okay.
Wow.
Anyway, and last December, when I spoke to Professor Peng, I said, how's life for you in your intensive care unit, the biggest in Wuhan? He said, I have not had a single, virally infected patient since May last year.
Wow.
And I said, do you think the widespread distribution of vitamin C had anything to do with it? He said, yes.
You don't hear about this in the mainstream media.
It's outrageous.
No, and I think this is a topic for another interview I'd love to do with you. I think we should focus on how people can, protect themselves today and make use of your knowledge. But I do want to mention one thing, is that I discovered Linus Pauling when I was in high school, and I knew double Nobel laureate in peace and chemistry. He lived to be 96. When I found out about him, he was taking 18 grams of vitamin C a day. So I went out, I must have been 15 years old. I went to the health food store and I picked up a bottle of white ascorbic acid and started taking 10 grams a day. So of course, for the first couple of days, I got the runs, and then that cleared up, and I kept it up. But I was a teenager, and it was kind of a bit of a fad for me. But I went and I asked my chemistry teacher, wonderful man, and he goes, well, Linus Pauling is an incredible man and everything, but I wonder, is he not crystallizing his kidneys? Because all that has to be filtered through the kidneys. And I was like, oh, okay, but no, I'm not quite sure it works out.
It's funny that you say that, because it's one of the myths. And recently there was a very good article which traced it. And, you'd read one research paper that said, it could be bad for the kidneys according to, quoting someone else. And then you go to that other paper and they quote somebody else. And then they quote the first one, who quoted the second one, who quoted the third one. And they couldn't actually, it was really funny. It was one of those things, Chinese whispers, where actually they didn't have the cases. And it turned out that what happened is that when you do excrete, I mean, this is the other big myth, that you just make expensive urine.
Yes, in fact, use that term. My chemistry teacher actually used that term.
Yeah. So, when you drink water, what are you making? Watery urine. So should you not drink water? No, you need to drink water because it does stuff before it leaves.
Yes.
And vitamin C is exactly the same. But what they found out, and this wasn't really discovered till the almost late 90s, was that vitamin C is an antioxidant. So it disarms oxidants. And when you collect a urine sample, if you just leave it there for a few minutes, it actually oxidizes and it turns into oxalic acid. And high oxalic acid is a marker for, kidney stones or kidney disease. So it's absolutely true. The early studies found that people taking lots of vitamin C had more oxalic acid in their urine. And then the kidney research unit in Cape Town realized that they were doing something wrong. They did exactly the same experiment. And this would occur with blood as well. But they fixed the urine and the blood upon, taking the sample, and they found no abnormal oxalic acid at all. So in other words, it was being made in the test tube after it left the body.
Interesting.
And they proved that, they were giving people 5 grams. I mean, here's the thing. I take 2 grams, 2,000 milligrams, 1 gram in the morning, 1 gram in the afternoon. And on the whole, if you're a healthy person, that's about as much as you can, you won't raise your blood level much more. Some people take 10 grams a day, but I don't think it's necessary. And then they think, oh, we're in, particularly virally sensitive times, so I'll really take a lot. Again, I don't think that's really going to make much difference. What makes the difference is to do what animals do, which is to take a lot the minute you get the first sign of an infection. I'll tell you one story, because what people don't realize is scurvy, which killed 2 million sailors, which is vitamin C deficiency. And they don't die from scurvy. They actually die from pneumonia.
Right.
So what vitamin C deficiency induces is pneumonia. And they also go a bit crazy. So I spoke to a lady the other day who had a very bad case of the virus, ended up in a coma on a ventilator. And when she came out of the coma, but still on the ventilator, they passed her a whiteboard, and she just wrote oranges. She had been hallucinating oranges, orange juice. She was sure that the refrigerator unit was full of orange juice. And it wasn't until she actually recovered that she realized, the penny dropped. Took her 4 days to get any. What we're doing now in which I think is absolutely outrageous, is in the UK, estimated 47% of deaths in the pandemic have been in care homes. And I think in the US, it's something, 35%, or it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, at least a third of people are dying in care homes. So the question becomes, what does someone need in the way of vitamin C, if you're older and in a care home, no doubt with a comorbidity, diabetes, heart disease? You basically got what we call oxidative stress. It's like your engine is worn out, you're making more exhaust fumes. So I searched the medical literature, and I find in 1992, there is a study that shows that 40% of people in care homes have overt vitamin C level, which is 11 micromoles per liter, which is basically what you see in scurvy.
Scurvy, right.
And since the early 90s to now, what's happened is the average age of people in care homes has gone up and up. It used to be rare to have anyone over 90. Now it's extremely common. So we're about to start a study in the UK, but it doesn't matter where you do it, where we're taking groups of people in care homes and giving them every day a slightly different amount of vitamin C. And what we're actually using to measure it is a simple urine stick that tests vitamin C, because this is fascinating too. What animals do is they always make enough vitamin C for a little bit to spill over into the urine, which, by the way, protects your bladder and your whole genitourinary tract.
Interesting.
So you can find out whether someone has reached enough tissue saturation simply by
peeing.
Yeah, by peeing. So we're giving these old people tiny amounts, increasing until they start to excrete some. And then we say, that's your basic level. And this isn't a study about disease. It's a study about what does a person need just to be, in a decent chance. Because the truth is, if any virus strikes you and you have no vitamin C, I mean, you as an athlete, sometimes you hear of super fit people, who come off very badly. But the point is, if you've just run a marathon, your vitamin C is completely depleted.
Yeah.
We know if we want to run a cold study, very often what we choose is long distance runners, because we know that the incidence of respiratory infections is incredibly high.
Yeah. They're totally beat up after a marathon.
Yeah.
At every level. Yeah.
Yeah. So the more you exercise, the more vitamin C you need. And it's safe and it's cheap. And here is the big problem. It's not patentable. You cannot patent something that nature makes.
Like so many things.
It's dirt.
Yeah.
It's absolutely dirt cheap. And unfortunately, the pharmaceutical industry are not interested in something that you cannot patent that's dirt cheap. And actually, it's a lot more threatening than vitamin D. Gradually the message is getting through on vitamin D, which I'm a tremendous fan of. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see anyone fighting for vitamin C.
No.
I decided, Flu Fighters, my book.
Yep.
I wrote it in the first 2 weeks, of this pandemic, and it covers zinc and vitamin C and vitamin D and elderberry and what to eat and, all the important things. But the thing is, vitamin C is kind of the biggest threat because it has so many applications.
Yeah.
Yes. It really came into medicine.
Okay.
Funny enough, yes. So that's
no. Please go ahead. Funny enough.
No, I was giving a lecture a few years ago, and the general story of Linus Pauling, sometimes, as they say, he was absolute genius. He just discovered so many things. He was always, on the money until he hit vitamin C, and then he spent 39 years on nothing but vitamin C.
Yeah.
And I remember giving a lecture. There's a couple of hundred people there, and a man stood up in the lecture. Actually, stood up. I think he might have been drunk, but he said Linus Pauling was a fraud. He was disproven. Blah blah blah. And I said, you want me to admit, to the audience that Linus Pauling was a crank? And he said, yes. And I said, Linus Pauling was a crank. And, you know what a definition of a crank is? It's a small, efficient tool designed for generating revolutions. Now, will you sit down?
Well said, Patrick.
You know?
Okay. How can people achieve the good level of vitamin C? Are there different sources that are different in the source? And anything else that you feel is useful right now for our viewers?
Well, ascorbic acid, the bog standard stuff that you bought, is actually what all animals make, and it's what our body loves, and it rapidly raises blood levels, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. People think it's synthetic. Well, it is synthetic. It's made in a lab by doing what all animals do, taking a sugar, putting it through 5 chemical changes. You've got vitamin C.
Okay.
Some people take what they call ascorbates, where you attach the slightly acidic vitamin C to a alkaline mineral like magnesium ascorbate or sodium ascorbate. Yeah, they're okay too. Actually, in an acute infection, the ascorbic acid works better. And then some people like this liposomal vitamin C, where you attach the ascorbic acid, ideally, to a type of fat or liposome, phospholipid, and it kind of cheats and it gets in through the fat transport system. Now, that's fine too. It's a lot more expensive. Sometimes, for example, when I'm working with cancer patients and we want to get to very, very high levels of vitamin C, where it actually switches from being an antioxidant to a pro-oxidant and targets cancer cells. That's fascinating when you get to a really high level. That's where intravenous vitamin C comes in.
Right.
What happens is that your ability to take in vitamin C is limited by the loose bowel diarrhea effect. But the liposomal doesn't. So I take the cheap stuff up to that point. We call it bowel tolerance.
Bowel tolerance, yeah.
And then take the expensive stuff, the liposomal, because I can get even higher.
Yeah.
But the honest truth is these are just small details.
Okay.
The bottom line, if I could put one message across, I don't mean to use a drug analogy here, but people that I've got a headache, I'll take a painkiller. I would say the minute you get a scratchy throat, your energy drops, you feel blocked up, your muscles are aching. The minute you suspect you're under some kind of infection or viral attack, whack in a gram an hour of vitamin C. I actually take 2 or 3 grams as a preloading dose, just to get, the level up. Then I take a gram an hour or a gram every 2 hours. Whether you buy powder pills, it makes no difference. And don't stop until you forget, because the symptoms are gone.
Well, I'll share with you. I take 2,000 milligrams a day, on average, usually with food. And, last year I got sick. And I did exactly what you said. And this is before you and I ever met. And it lasted 36 hours.
Yeah.
And, in fact, I remember because I set a new squat repetition record for myself after a hip injury, that next week. And so, I'll vouch for that personally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
For me, it took 18 hours. I took it with zinc.
Oh, you got me there.
Seems to work a little better. And ginger. I make like almost hallucinogenic ginger juice, really strong.
Wow.
Because that supports the immune system. Even better with some Epsom salts. And I don't know how it is for you, but what I find whenever I've had a strong flu in this way, I had the temperature, I had the fever, and all that sort of stuff. And then there's a magic moment, whether it's after 36 hours, 18 hours, whatever, where suddenly it breaks. And for me, it's always like a cold sweat, and it breaks, and it's over. You just know it. And then just a few hours, to feel better, and then you're back on breaking your records.
It was a rep record for all those listening. It was rep. It wasn't heavyweight. It was a rep record at the time. Okay. I was.
So, you know it, I know it, thousands of people know it. Linus Pauling knew it in the 70s, and he dedicated, 39 years of his life to promoting this. And that's what I'm doing at this, interesting time in the history of humanity, is just making sure as many people as possible know this, because it is a lifesaver.
Now, Patrick, I want to say this. I will be interviewing you again in the future. Okay. I have to. I really have to. I want to hear more of what you have to say. There's several questions I want to ask you. I want to delve into some more. And I think the message is really important. That being said, is there a website where people can look you up, more information, something that, you can share with us that,
Well, yeah. If you go to flufighters.net.
Okay.
There is a ton of good information there. By the way, the symbol in the middle, I'm not a communist.
Yeah. Not a hammer and sickle, right?
Exactly. The The C stands for anything you want it to stand for.
Got
of course,
it.
Colts. The hammer is, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And flufighters.net. And there's also the chapter in it, which is called Surviving Respiratory Distress.
Yes.
Is free. So you can, read that, send it to everybody. There's a lot of podcasts, interviews, the science, the references. I've written a scientific review with some of the world's leading professors of emergency medicine, immunology, nutrition, pharmacology, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And, you can look me up. The journal is called Nutrients. You might know it. It's a review on vitamin C and respiratory infection.
You wrote that with Dr. Merrick, is that correct?
I wrote it with, Professor Paul Merrick from down in the Washington area. He's an emergency medicine expert at the, he's a fantastic guy.
FLTCC, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And then also Associate Professor Anitra Carr in New Zealand at the University of Otago, who's brilliant. Professor David Smith, he's the Professor of Pharmacology, Emeritus Professor, Oxford University. Professor Ian Whitaker from Swansea and Wales University, he's an emergency medicine guy. And, and many others were involved. And I have to tell you now very quickly that what happened was I approached the experts who talked to the UK government, and their advisors, and they said, what you need is a review paper with everything in one place. These experts don't always do the reviews properly. Yeah. So I sat down and wrote it. It's 120 references. I then sent it to the world's experts like Professor Paul Merrick, David Smith, et cetera, et cetera. And they were just so generous. They dived in and improved it, ripped it to pieces, added this paper. And literally in 2 weeks, we had an international democratic scientific process, which led to a very sharp paper, which then got published in the leading peer-reviewed journal, has been downloaded almost 20,000 times. And now in the UK, if you write to your member of parliament, they contact the Department of Health. The Department of Health sends them a letter, which at least now says, we have noted the review on vitamin C, quoting our review. So it's noted. No action has been taken, but it's noted. And there are studies going on, in fact, in Canada and the US. In the UK, it's called the REMAP CAP, vitamin C arm. So there are studies going on.
Okay.
And it's the scientific community. We have nearly 1,000 professors, doctors, frontline workers have signed a petition that we are representing. The scientific community has, there has not been one criticism about vitamin C. Not one criticism.
Yeah, I saw that. About 1/10 of your signatures are from the healthcare professionals and researchers. You got about 10,000.
Yeah, all the interviews.
Petition.
Yeah, all the interviews I've been doing over all the years, not a single person has questioned the science. There's been absolutely no negative. The scientific community, the medical community, when they look at the facts, it's just there. It's absolutely there. What breaks my heart, however, is there is political pressure. Like JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association, which is kind of the leading journal, but it's very anti-vitamin. There was a study that gave 8 grams early in infection, not hospitalized patients, early in infection. It got the people on the vitamin C had 1.2 days shorter infection, but it was not statistically significant. However, I then discovered that the paper had been submitted to a journal, and you always have peer reviewers. These are independent reviewers, and I found out that the independent reviewers had rejected the paper because of the way they were doing the statistics. And somehow the paper still landed in a journal, got a big editorial cover, got the press release. And when one of the peer reviewers got hold of their data, reanalyzed the data, there was a 70% reduction in the rate of recovery. And it was statistically significant.
Right.
So this was just, lies, damn lies.
Statistical manipulation there.
But the point is exactly. And the point is that what they got was, 18% shorter infection. They didn't give it on the first day of infection because they were giving it to outpatients who had arrived and then had to get tested and, et cetera, et cetera. But the real winner with vitamin C is to take it the minute, if you wait 2 days, it doesn't work so well. It's the honest truth. If you take it the minute you get symptoms and you don't give up until you're symptom-free, and it's very clear, then this is a lifesaver, a game changer, And it's something that everyone could do, and every country could do, like the Chinese. Shipping it into Wuhan is dirt cheap. It's completely safe. There's no reason not to. You could just say, why not?
Why not? Before we go, because I think that's a powerful message to leave the interview here, but how can we download that paper again?
Well, if you just put in nutrients, which is the journal, into Google, and my name is Patrick Holford, and you put in vitamin C, I'm sure you'd find it.
Okay. All right. Wonderful.
It's not difficult. Yeah.
Patrick, I really look forward to speaking to you again very shortly. Just stay there. I'm just going to sign off for us. So on behalf of myself and the Etiquette Show, I want to thank you so much for sharing your very valuable information with us, and keep up the great work, and we will talk again very soon. Thank you.
Stay well, stay free.
Hey guys, this is Celia with the Etiquette Show, and with me I have
Gabriel.
And how has Corona impacted your love life?
My love life?
Yeah.
Oh my God, will be that impacting a lot. Because I haven't been able to date someone, especially during these times, and it's not because of me, but it's because we have to follow the guidelines, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So what do you think about Tinder, about Hinge?
I'm actually using Tinder sometimes, because why not,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to date people. So if someone wants to date me, why not? I'm here.
He's single! It's like we put your phone number right here in the video.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's go! Oh my god! And
I'm single and ready to mingle.
Yes! Okay, tell us about you.
Well, I'm from Honduras.
Yes.
And I just moved here since I have been living here for 5 months. And yeah, I'm pretty brand new here. And so far, I like it so much. I love the city. You can do whatever you want here.
You can! Okay, so first of all, he's from another country, so he's different and fun. Also, he believes in himself and he sees opportunities, so, go for it! Okay, so let me ask you, how did you used to meet people before Corona?
I usually see people.
Yeah, around this time.
Say that again? Because I'm just lost.
It's all good! So before Corona hit and everything, how did you used to meet, everybody?
To be honest, I was doing just for Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just the new Tinder, right?
Yeah. Okay, so how do guys usually, how would you say they're using Instagram right now, what advice would you give them to be able to go into someone's DMs,
Yeah, if you like someone, don't be afraid to tell them. Just send them some reaction sometime.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if they like you back, they will tell you. Definitely.
Oh, wait, they don't? Okay, so how would they tell you? Would they like your back, send an emoji, or what?
Yeah, that on Instagram have some reaction picture.
Yeah.
So you just have to put you love the picture and that's it.
Yeah.
So it will send a direct message to them, and then you can like the picture or they can reply you back. So if you like it, if they like it, they will, reply just right away and tell you you're cute, and that's how you're gonna start the conversation. You know what I mean?
So what was the best relationship you were ever in?
That was probably 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was my last one actually. It was really good. And actually I started through Instagram.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so what made that relationship so great?
We were really together. We used to do everything together, go to Argentine, go to the movies together. Yeah. I don't know, we had a pretty good relationship. I don't know, he used to be with me, or he used to hang out with me most of the time. My mother used to love him. It was really good actually. Yeah.
And what did you learn from the relationship that you'll bring on to your next one?
That you have to be confident about yourself. I don't know, it's about trust, and that you have to trust in your partner.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I learned, because, I don't know, it's just something, and that you really have to communicate with your couple,
Yeah.
Because everything is about communication, so that's how I learned about the relationship. Communication. And to love yourself, and to trust.
So how do you love yourself?
I love myself now, because I'm very confident now.
How did you get that confidence and that self-love?
It's just something that you learn eventually, because you have to learn how to love yourself before you love someone else.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Is that like treating yourself a certain way?
Yeah, I'm treating better myself now.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just feel that I like to go to the gym by myself, some activity by myself. I don't know. Treat yourself, you know what I mean? You just need someone else to do something that you really like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is the top 3 qualities that you want in your future partner?
To be someone that I can hang out with, someone really down to earth, and someone that wants to create or build a future eventually, you know? Someone that I can be with.
Yeah.
Basically, that's it. Someone down to earth, very humble, kind, and very easygoing, I don't know.
So what about red flags? What are 3 red flags that people should always watch out for?
If your partner doesn't he doesn't pay attention to you. I mean, if you're with them, you know what I mean? And you're having like a dinner or something, they're always on their cell phone. That's something that it is a red flag. Also, if you are a lot with you, if you fight with your partner, that's something that you really need to think about, because that's something that is gonna create the whole environment for your relationship. Basically, that's it, I guess.
No, that's good. Thank you so much. I
You're so
appreciate it.
welcome.
Oh my god.